Yeah, you're right.
Hello friends, my name is Stevie Cade and welcome to Film Trigger. So Thor Love and Thunder just came out in theaters and I had the privilege of seeing this beautiful, beautiful movie today. Detect some sarcasm? Actually, it is a very beautiful movie. But I do have some issues with it. Issues that I didn't think I should have for a movie like this and a director, Taika Waititi, what I come to expect from him. Before we dive into all that, if you could, hit that like, thumbs up button, that subscribe button, and if you wouldn't mind hitting me right in the ding-a-ling, the bell notification thing, so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Anyway, here is my spoiler-free review for Thor, Love and Thunder. So I've been fairly looking forward to this movie. I was a huge fan of Thor Ragnarok, and then upon that, going and checking out some more of Taika Waititi's other movies, specifically Jojo Rabbit, I've come to have a respect for the way he balances his movies out with heavy material and also adding in satire and comedy mixed in there for this really good emotional roller coaster, and how he sets up his movies and how well he introduces you to characters and lays out the story. But I feel like this movie, something went wrong with it. I don't know. But before we dive into any of that, let's talk about what I do like about this film. Number one, it's an entertaining movie. Like, if you just have popcorn, stare at the screen, shut your brain down, it's a fun movie to watch. It has more than its fair share of beautiful cinematography and huge landscapes, and it's a galaxy-trotting adventure. You go from one planet to another planet. It's really big in scale. And all around just looks really well made. Everything looks clean, clear, picture perfect. I did notice a bit of the new, what do they call it, the sound stage, the new green screen, if you will. It's taking over green screens. I am starting to identify that in films and TV shows these days. It's not bad. It doesn't take me out of it. I can see that it's in its early stages. But besides me noticing that, I don't think most of the general audience would notice that. It was all around just a good looking film. The fight scenes were fun. They were well shot. The psychological journey that we have with Thor in this movie of him trying to find himself, which has been a continuing pattern in the past few movies that he's been a part of, not even just the Thor movies, but also in Infinity War and Endgame. You get to see this constant stream of Thor growing as a person, and I enjoy that aspect. They do very well playing into that in this movie as well. That continues. Thor's story continues. And overall, I just enjoyed seeing these characters back together again. It's a fun group of characters, no matter what. Like, even if it's a bad movie, I still enjoy seeing these characters. I'm not saying Thor is a bad movie, but my point is, the characters aren't necessarily forced in there. They play well into the story, and they play into Thor's narrative and his journey and everything that he's going through. So yes, the characters, I was happy to see them again. Awesome. But that's about it when it comes to things I like about this film. It tries to have heart, but it just doesn't seem to quite get there. Let's dive more into that with some things I'm on the fence about when it comes to this movie. The comedy. The comedy is too much. They cranked it to 11 when it was perfectly fine at 10. But it is funny. Like, the bits they have in there are actually pretty funny. I did laugh, but there was a lot of moments where I was like, okay, that's funny too. Where's the story? What's going on? Oh, that's funny also. That's kind of how I felt in this movie. The jokes, they hit for me. A little too heavy hitting. Christian Bale. Yes, I'm on the fence with Christian Bale's character, Gorr. Mostly because I feel like we're missing a lot of him in this movie. We could use more Gorr in Thor 4. It's almost comparable to how I felt about Jared Leto in Suicide Squad. I felt like what Jared Leto shot and the rest of the Suicide Squad movie was two different movies, but they somehow spliced them in together. I kind of get that same vibe here. Like, there's more to Gorr's story than what we saw. There's a lot on the cutting room floor, I felt like, and it really came across unnatural for me, especially when Gorr was communicating to anybody. Like, Christian Bale was doing this very unique stylistic portrayal of Gorr, but it came across as off-putting sometimes because it wasn't earned. Like, I think I needed more time to understand exactly who this Gorr character is, but didn't get a lot of him in the movie, and I feel like we should have. That would have played more into the creepiness of Gorr, and I think there's probably a lot of gore on the cutting room floor. But that's going to lead me into what I don't like about this film. And that is the story is too fast. The pacing is too fast, especially in the first act of this movie. It goes by so quickly. They're just throwing so much information at you, and it's almost in fast forward. It sacrificed Gorr's story and his setup, along with Jane. It sacrificed Jane's story and her setup. Now, Jane had a lot more screen time than Gorr, so we were able to flesh out the latter part of her character arc, but the part that gets us there at the beginning was just so quick, so fast, it was hard for me to actually get emotionally invested into Jane's story, and that just, again, parallels with Gorr. I mean, I feel like we should have seen Gorr, like, actually... Well, I don't know if that's a spoiler. We should have seen Gorr doing more of God butchering than we did. The whole first act is just literally fast forward you to the second act, and then they kind of slow things down a little bit, and that's when I started enjoying the movie a little bit more. That first act, it was going way too fast. The comedy was happening way too heavily. It kind of ruined the entire first act for me. I mean, hell, even the Guardians of the Galaxy, them being in this movie, felt weird and rushed, and their separation was very forced, and I feel like Chris Pratt was phoning in his performance. It was very odd, not what I come to expect from Taika Waititi. I feel like he's put himself at a very high standard of what to expect from him, and he did not deliver in that, at least to me, in this movie. To be honest with you, we probably could have added 30 to 40 more minutes to this movie with all the heaviness that should have been in this movie to balance out the comedy and actually pay attention to the characters to where their stories build. I think I know it seems a lot, but honestly, this is some heavy material that they just glossed right over. Now, this is something I debated on putting on my review, not because I wasn't sure how I felt about it or not. It's because just the narrative that the world lives in. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The wokeness in this movie is a little too on the nose. Listen, I have no qualms with the way anybody lives their life or even implementing that into a story. I think that's not only fine for me, but I think it should be done. As a matter of fact, Eternals did it. Eternals did it in a very well done way. They had a prominently gay character in that movie, and they didn't hold him up and go, hey, look at our gay character. Isn't he gay? We like gay people. No, the character had a husband and a child, and it just played into the story. It was woven in there. It wasn't spotlit or, promoted. It was just there, like any other relationship would be. But in this movie, they really play into it heavy-handedly, almost like they were meeting a quota. And that's where I get bothered. When it seems like you're meeting your wokeness quota instead of actually telling the story and just happen to have these characters that live certain lifestyles, that's when I start getting taken out of the story. There's definitely one part in this movie where it's just like, they're beating you over the head like, see, gay characters, we like them, we love the gays. But it doesn't play into the story. It's just there, as I said, like, what seemed like to meet a quota of some sort. I feel like I have to defend myself in the climate that we live in. I don't care if the characters are gay. That doesn't bother me one little bit. But when you're doing it not to play into a story and you're just doing it because someone said, hey, you need to add some more wokeness into your film, now you're sacrificing your story just to promote something because of a social climate. And again, I expect more from Taika Waititi than that. The guy's a great storyteller. Why isn't this stuff woven in better? I don't understand. I know he can do better. I don't think Taika Waititi had as much creative control as we think he did. I think there was a lot of somebody whispering in his ear of what he needed to add to this movie and take away from this movie. That's what this movie feels like to me. And the last things I'm going to talk about here, they almost fall into petty points. The Bifrost is now just not only readily available, they can just use it whenever they want, but it also seems unimportant because there's parts in this movie where people didn't have the Bifrost, but they're still zooming through space, unexplained how they got to a certain place, and the only way they got to that place the first time was by the Bifrost, but then they left by the Bifrost, but then they came back not by the Bifrost. Like, how did you get here? You're not even a god. So yeah, there's a couple times that happened, and also again, this is almost a petty point. We all know Zeus is in this movie, and we also see Zeus's lightning bolt that he holds in his hand, and that lightning bolt plays into the storyline of the movie. Like, it's a big part of it, but I don't know why. They made a huge deal of getting this lightning bolt, but it wasn't useful. An unnecessary addition to the movie. I think maybe it just, I don't know, maybe we could have taken out that entire Zeus scene and paid more attention to Jane and Gorr's story. There's an idea. Overall, I walked out of this movie disappointed, and I had to really remind myself that there were good things about it, but I was so angry at being disappointed because I thought it was going to be at worst a solid Marvel movie, and it wasn't. It was very just odd, not what I expect from Taika Waititi at all. Now I do understand if you shut your brain down and just watch it as a fun, entertaining God-man movie, then yeah, it's fairly enjoyable. The jokes hit. It makes people laugh. The audience members in my theater were laughing. I was laughing. But I want more story. I want things you put in your story to make sense to the narrative. And we got a lot that didn't. We were paying attention to all this other shit that was relatively unimportant. Meanwhile, I'm sitting and waiting for the heavy stuff to be explained more and to be nurtured more in the story. And it just wasn't. I feel like Taika Waititi sacrificed a lot of his character's development and also sacrificed a lot of his integrity because, again, I feel like somebody was whispering in his ear. And I'm kind of torn of where I want to land this on my grading scale, but for all these reasons, I'm giving this movie a D+/C-.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good, though.
It could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
And the reason why I'm giving it those two grades is because I feel it's a D+. But I know if I watch this movie again and just stop looking for, the actual story of it, it could be fairly enjoyable. So that's why I give it the C-. There you have it, guys. There's my rating. Have you seen this movie? Let me know in the comments below what you thought. Please keep it spoiler free. Also, be sure to check out some more of my videos. And as always, stay trigger happy, my friends. Peace.
Let's see who you are. I take off your disguise. And flick.
You flicked too hard, damn it!